Hey, what's up everybody? I'm Jesse. This is my garage. You've got questions about your 300ZX. I'm gonna try and answer them. Let's do some Q&A. Start right now. All right, I have two special guests today joining me for questions and answers. Chloe's got her car in here, and Claire, say hi. Well, our first question is, this is the technical question someone had about their 300ZX, ran into some trouble when they were working on it. Changed spark plugs, changed fuel lines, maybe some vacuum lines. I'm not 100% sure what all they did. It was in the comments, and now they're having trouble getting it to start and couldn't get to start unless they had their foot on the floor holding the gas pedal down. And what I was kind of thinking is, when you do a lot of stuff like this, I don't know if they actually took the plenum off or not, but taking apart fuel lines, taking apart the vacuum lines, and like the fuel lines, they go all over the place. And if you take it all off at once and then try to replace it all at once, you could get something hooked up backwards. That's most likely the case. They were wondering if maybe a different component went out. I would say the likelihood of another component going out while you're working on a specific area of the engine is unlikely. Most likely, whatever your problem that you're having, if you just worked on a certain area, you put it back together, and then you're having a problem with the car, it's in that area you just worked on. Maybe missed a connector clip. These clips break. Coil packs are off. So did the coil pack get on there correctly? Those boots that run at the end of the coil pack, where they ripped, did the spring inside of them fall out? So now it's not getting connectivity all the way down to the spark plug. All that kind of little stuff. And then the fuel line. How did you take off all your fuel line? Did you do it section by section, or just take it all off and put it back on? Because it all runs a certain way, and on the 300ZX it's kind of over-engineered in some areas. You would definitely want to make sure that you had the fuel line hooked back up correctly all the way through, where it splices in from hard line to rubber line. So I would go back and check all that stuff. Then of course, anytime you're working on your fuel line, make sure you use fuel injector line, not just fuel line that they'll sell you down at the hardware store. Chloe? Because if it's cheaper, but if it's not rated for fuel injection line, you can run across it bursting and catching your car on fire. You don't want that, but I would check that, check your connectors. Chloe, check your connectors, make sure all the connectors got back on your fuel injectors. If you took those off, make sure all your connectors got back on your spark, on your coil packs. And if any of them broke, that they're still being able to stay on there, because they get brittle and break, might be a good time to start replacing that. And then your fuel line, of course, there. And if anybody has any more to add to this, had this certain problem, that it hooked the fuel line up backwards or something, put it down in the comments. We'll get it to this subscriber and hopefully help him get his car back on the road, back and ready to enjoy it. Because I know it's so frustrating to do work on your car and then it goes down and you're like, what the heck just happened? It is definitely can kill the vibe on a project car and make you super frustrated and unmotivated to work on your car even further. Somebody else asked about the Lucas engine oil restorer, asked if I have ever used it or put it in my 300ZX. I do not use it. I've never had to use it, really. I had a friend that had a FC RX-7 with some bad apex seals, and he tried some stuff like that to give it life, thicken up the oil just to have it seal up a little bit more. It's a rotary engine and needed rebuild. That's about the far as I have with dealing with the engine additive oil that's supposed to help fix and seal stuff back up. Maybe I should do it on my 300ZX, because the rear main seal or the oil pan seal in the back leaks pretty bad. But you know, I did just buy some of that Lucas repair self-sealing fluid stuff. We'll see if it works for my power steering rack, because my power steering rack leaks and it needs rebuilt, which I actually have an extra one. But if I go to put a new power steering rack, I'm probably just gonna get a brand new one, because I don't want to do all that work to put an unknown condition one in there for it to leak too. But I do have an extra one. I did get some of that, so we'll see that. I haven't added it to the system yet because I have not low enough to add the complete bottle into the power steering system. So have I put it in my engine? No. Are we gonna put it in the power steering system? Yes, and we'll see if that does anything, helps at all. On the bottle it says it might take a couple of bottles, but that's just a good way to sell product to. You might have to buy more product if the first time it doesn't work. We'll see how far it gets to it. When we tear up my 300ZX to put the new engine in, which is taking time, we have to buy parts, put it all together. And if you heard, I'm sure you heard Chloe and Claire, we gotta have family time too, take care of them. So it all gets done. I'm looking at our engine right now, and we're gonna tear some more of that apart and harvest some more parts off of that. But yeah, we'll see. We'll get a new power steering rack in there, and we'll try it until it doesn't, see if it works. And if it works on the power steering, hey, maybe it'll work on the engine as well. All right, well, speaking of Claire and Chloe, Claire wanted to join us on answering questions on the video. So Claire, have you ever thought of upgrading your pulley system on a 300ZX? She has thought. Somebody asked about the pulleys on the 300ZX. Of course, we know on my 300ZX we have an aftermarket crank pulley harmonic balancer, aluminum one-piece one. For those, I'd say those are the most practical to replace, because the OEM harmonic balancer can get chipped up, and if it gets too chipped up, and can eat up your belts. We don't want that, and they're expensive to replace, and the one-piece underdrive ones are cheaper, so practicality of that is there. Now, of course, they're lightweight and, you know, supposed to be less drag on your engine. I don't know how much performance-wise that actually is, or if it makes a difference or not. Of course, Nissan manufactured this engine with that harmonic balancer to take all the vibration out of the crank, and it's balanced all the way through. So, I mean, OEM parts are always good. But like I said, I'm rocking the aluminum underdrive one-piece one. Seems to work good. As for your alternator and power steering, water pump, all that stuff, I think that's going to be more of just engine dress up. If you want to do it on your engine and dress it up, kind of do some finishing touches, that's going to be personal preference, really. Performance gains, I can't see if there's, you know, a little bit lighter or whatever, if it's actually going to do anything. Like I said, the OEM ones are all designed to work specifically for that engine, tested through Nissan manufacturing. They spend lots of money testing these parts, manufacturing these parts. And for little stuff like that, I think I would just, personally, I'm not gonna change any other pulleys on my car unless one was to get destroyed and it was just cheaper to go with an aftermarket one. But since I have the OEM ones, we'll just go with that. But if you want to dress up your engine, or if we did want to dress up our engine bay, we can go with some shiny aftermarket ones. The engine bay color scheme that I'm going to go for on my car is just going to be a black and white. So all the pulleys are already black, and I don't want to put a lot of white on the engine because it gets dirty and there's one more place to look dirty quicker. So engine bay will be white. Valve covers on my car will be black. I would like to do the intake manifold wrinkled black as well. We'll see how that goes, Claire. So, and through all that, I hope you guys aren't sleeping at home while we're answering these questions. Only Claire. But yeah, that's my take on the pulleys. Up to you if you want to do that. Practicality is probably the harmonic balancer. If yours is all chipped up, I would definitely replace one rather than using a beat up one. And they're kind of hard to find in good condition. They're expensive, like $500 versus I don't know how much the underdrive one, but I know it's cheaper than the OEM one, because I looked for an OEM one for my car when I was putting it all back together, and I was like, we can just rock the one that's on there. All right, one of our subscribers asked, they've been wanting a Nissan 300ZX Z32 for a long time. If you've been wanting one of these cars for a long time, I'm gonna just go ahead and answer this right now. You should get it because it's awesome. I love this car. I bought it I always wanted one, but I bought it just for a project car because my brother bought that white Miata that you've seen on this channel a couple times. And that thing was a total project car. As soon as we got up on the lift, I was like, man, I want a project car. And I always wanted a 300ZX, and they're like way more affordable than 240s. At least they kind of were, and they're going up right now. So I snatched one up and fell in love with it. But that's not really what the question was. The question was, he's wanted one for a long time, and are they as hard to work on as everybody says? Now, I was under that impression too, because that's what I heard before I bought mine and started working on it and wrenching on them. I've done a lot of work on 240 SXs. Engine bay is super open in there, and it's super easy to work on. I had a 350Z. That was pretty tight. I think the 350Z engine bay is harder to work on than the 300ZX. I don't think the 300ZX is as bad as everybody makes it out to be. I will say Nissan over-engineered a bunch of stuff on this car. That
this one is good and this one spicy.
That one's spicy for Dad.
Yeah.
So Nissan did over-engineer a bunch of stuff on this car, and you will. I mean, it's easy to overcome. There's been 30 years of people working on these cars, telling you all the little tricks and tips.
No, let me throw that.
Nope, throw it away. Ways to make it easier to work on your car. A big thing for this engine is twin turbo model. The turbos are super close to the frame rails, and if you want to, from my understanding, I haven't had to replace a turbo yet, but my understanding is if your turbo goes bad, and I've seen this in multiple things, they're not super easy to get to, so you need to pull the engine out or drop the engine down from the bottom to get to your turbo manifold, to get to the turbos, to unbolt them, to replace everything. So if you want to replace your turbos, engine's got to come out of the car one way or another. No room really to get to anything there. The second thing is the intake manifold. To get to your valve covers, to get to your fuel injectors, to get to, some of your spark plug areas, you can change the spark plugs without pulling it, but to get to, there's spark plug, what am I trying to say? The spark plug tubes, and there's seals in there, and if your valve covers go bad, they just fill up with oil, and to replace all those gaskets, the intake manifold's got to come off. So like I said, fuel injectors, intake manifold's got to come off. Valve covers, intake manifold's got to come off. Spark plug, intake manifold, come off. If your knock sensor goes bad, intake manifold's got to come off. Timing components have to come off, and then the lower intake manifold has to come off to get to all that stuff. So there is some stuff, it does get buried, but is it a nightmare? It can be. If you're not used to wrenching on a car, I would say this might not be the perfect car to start off working on, but buying this car, you will learn skills, and if you have the patience, the time, the resources, the space, you'll be able to get there. You'll be able to make it, you'll be able to work on it, and have an enjoyable experience, versus if this is your only car, the stupid knock sensor goes out, or you have a turbo, throw it away, turbo go out on your twin turbo, and you got to pull the engine to get it out. You just bought the car. It's not really a fun experience, but if you know how to pull your intake manifold off, it's going to be a plus. You know how to do your 120K service, that's going to be a plus. It's really not as bad. That's not that bad. I really think that's a lot easier than people make it out to be. And in the oil pan too, to get to the oil pan, the cross member, the front cross member subframe runs underneath it. You have to drop that out of the way or pull the engine out to get to the oil pan. On my 300ZX, oil pan's all dented up, should be replaced. That's why I'm not even 100% sure that's just the rear main seal leaking on my car. I might have to do something with the rear seal on the oil pan, might be leaking too, but I'm not going to pull the engine out to replace the oil pan or replace that seal when we're going to pull that engine out and put something else in. We'll just get the new one all sealed up and ready to go and fresh. So is it as hard as everyone says? Probably not. You could probably get to it. Is it over-engineered in some spots? Absolutely. Another thing about the over-engineering is the twin turbo clutch. If you get a twin turbo, it has a clutch brake booster, which I guess is a pain to bleed. So that's just another thing. So there is definitely stuff that is more challenging, but I'm going to stop rambling on about this. Yeah. You should buy a 300ZX. Next question is an easy question. Somebody asked, where can they get the complete 120K service kit for their 300ZX? Super easy. Z1, Concept Z, both of them are awesome. Great customer service, complete kit. It's so nice to have these cars and have the aftermarket support, the knowledge, and the specialty shops that we have, so we can just order the whole kit at once versus ordering different components. And if you don't know what components you need, having to go track them down. But Z1, Concept Z, they have everything you need. You can order it directly from them. Watch some of my videos about the 120K service. Maybe I'll put a link up right here somewhere. Maybe I won't, I don't know. If not, go in the videos and check it out. I've got ones comparing the different kits, why you should be doing this service. I've got ones of me doing it on my car. We helped one of the subscribers out, Luke, do his car. He's actually got some footage. I was supposed to put like a super compiled video together, but he's got the footage. I moved. Maybe we'll get back with him and I'll put a more detailed video about the 120K service and doing it step by step up as well. But concept's easy one. They got your back when you need 120K kit all in one. All right, the last one we're gonna wrap this video up is somebody was asking about they should get my thoughts, I guess. I think they kind of know what they're gonna get, but K&N reusable air filters versus just OEM air filters, just a paper air filter. They had even cited some things that K&N one doesn't filter as much particles as the paper one. And you know, the K&N one's got to flow a little bit more air, so you know, you might have a little bit more go by. That's usually how you go up in air filters. The thinner the air filter, kind of, the more open up it is, more stuff's gonna get by it. It doesn't strain the air as quite as tightly as some of the other ones, but you get more air through, more performance. It was on their DD. Right now, go ahead and guess what I'm gonna say. If you watch these videos or just heard me talk about through this question and answer, you probably know. I'll give you 5 seconds for now.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna say go ahead and if it's your DD and you don't care and you're not trying to get the performance out of it, go with the OEM ones. They're drop-in. You don't have to wash them. You don't have to clean them. You don't have to let them dry. You don't have to re-oil them. They're gonna filter out what you need. You're gonna drive the car A to B. If you're a daily driver, it doesn't matter. Go with just OEM ones. It's easier probably, unless you're super religious about cleaning them. Like, I'm gonna do my oil filter. I'm gonna clean my filters, do my oil change, clean my filters, let them dry, oil it, put it back in. I have K&N ones on my 300ZX, and I keep meaning to buy just replacement paper ones, just the OEM ones, but every time there's like only one, and I just am not that, it'll happen when it happens. I'm not too worried about it because we might do a whole different setup coming up, but I have the K&N ones. I keep like leaning back over just to getting replacement air filters. For one, I think people, and this is the thing with the cone filters and the pop filters and the K&N filters and any aftermarket filter, they think they put it on there and they're like, yeah, I just upgraded my air filter, I'm done. And they might not think to clean it as often as they should. They just have the paper ones in there, the OEM ones. They might be thinking, I need to change my air filter, I need to change my Alternator. So what I'm trying to say is, if you have an aftermarket one, they could check that box and it might get dirty quicker. That's what I'm saying. You might have a dirty air filter quicker. The number one performance is just going to be a clean air filter. There's nobody I know. It's black. It's all dark. You can't see. But it's different for everybody. And you might be like, dude, I have reusable air filters. Clean them all the time. It's not a big deal. And it's not, like I said, I have K&N one on my 300ZX in the stock factory airbox. I have a K&N air filter on my truck. If you just watched the video, we did the oil change on the truck. Pulled out the air filter, washed it, had to let it dry, re-oiled it, put it in the next day. Didn't have to take the truck anywhere. And then on the 240 has a HKS mushroom filter on that. And then on the 350Z, it had reusable dry filters on that as well from, I can't even remember exactly who it was, but it had a different intake setup on that. So normally I do run an aftermarket air filter on all my vehicles, but I have been leaning, Claire, you need to be quiet for just a second, been leaning back to the OEM air filters on my 300ZX because it's an NA automatic 300ZX, you know, is K&N air filters really getting that much more performance, or is just the dirt building up over there, you know? Do they ever get as clean as a brand new filter? No, they can't. So if you just get brand new filters and drop them in, just a way to keep it as fresh as possible, clean as possible, and probably a little bit more on the top of your mind than having to wash off your filter all the time. You might, you know, I could see it slipping your mind. I'm sure I've let stuff go. The ones in the 300ZX right now might be dirtier than they need to be. So maybe we should get some OEM ones. We'll see that on that coming up soon. But if you're watching this far and listening to me just rant about random stuff that you might disagree with or might agree with, or just think, hey, whatever. I actually had a drivability problem with the 300ZX the other day, and it is sitting in the driveway and hasn't moved since then. Wouldn't be a video without the car showing their face in it. My alternator went out on the 300ZX, and we'll talk about that. And I knew I should have replaced it when I did the 120K service. For one, it was just caked in power steering fluid, but I got it so cleaned up it looked like brand new. But I was like, it's probably old. So it's still the bad alternator still in there. We'll do a video about showing the signs of your alternator going out, because I've seen the signs coming, I've seen the signs coming the last couple weeks, and I was just kind of hoping maybe it would just last until we got the new motor in, and I would just get a new one then. But it didn't, and it left me stranded, and Rochelle had to come save me. Just did a battery swap on the 240 and the 300ZX, and drove the 300ZX back home, parked it there, and we have a new alternator coming. So we are gonna put a new alternator on that car. I'm gonna go over the signs that when your alternator is going out, what you should put a light in your head, say, uh-oh, we're gonna have a problem coming on down the road. And yeah, there you go. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you wanna support the garage, shop JGarage.com, get yourself some new swag, new gear, some new merch, whatever you wanna call it. You got a question? This is how this works, interactive with you. You got a question, hit me up in the comments below. Message me on Facebook or Instagram at Build Theory. Shoot me an email at shopjgarage@gmail.com. I'll put all this stuff in the description. Anything that we talked about, maybe I'll probably put some links in the description, so check the description of this video. Put some links in the video for any of that other stuff. Watch this stuff right after here. Click all that, subscribe. Thank you so much. Hit like, comment. It helps the algorithm push this video out, find more people that want to hear about this information and hear about me ramble for like way too long. Thank you so much. Talk to you guys next time.